All right, hi there. So, tomorrow morning I'm going to go on the second little photo walk. Actually, tomorrow morning my dog is going to, he needs to go out, and I want to take my Sinar with me, and to go just on a little walk around my place and take some shots. And again, it's basically just to learn. But if you saw my last video, by the way, well, look it up. It's quite long, to be honest, but so in the end I found out that I have a problem with motion blur in basically all the pictures, to be honest. In some it wasn't really obvious, in others definitely. And it caused some sort of, the pictures were soft basically because of motion blur. And I did actually a couple of things to fix that problem. And I want to talk about the stuff that I've done before I go out with the camera tomorrow and shoot some more black and white FOMA 100. I got 12 shots of FOMA loaded up, and the two left shots from the last video of Provia, I also packed them, but I honestly tomorrow think it's going to be a little bit rainy, cloudy, and I want to get into the forest, so I don't know if I'm going to shoot this Provia sheets, but who knows. So let me talk you through what I've fixed on my Sinar. I already mentioned two things in the last video that I fixed. And the first, and I think most important, was that the front standard especially, and also the back standard on my Sinar had a little bit of play in the mechanism itself. And this obviously is absolutely a worse thing, a very, very bad thing, because especially in the front standard, when I used the DB shutter right here, and this whole mechanism can move around a bit, freely move around a bit, and it was like that. No wonder that the images in the end came out a little bit blurry. So yeah, I fixed that by tightening these 3 screws right here, and now that is done. And the second thing is that I've put some light sealing foam inside the grooves on this DB shutter, so it is not able to shift around like it was before, which is also very, very nice. And the third thing is that I've actually took the DB shutter apart. Well, not really apart, I just took off the cover. Maybe I can I recorded this a video clip for Peter, who gifted me this camera because he always loves to see me work, for example, on these lenses that I've got from him as well, and I cleaned them up like I did in the last video as well. And I did that with all of the lenses that I got from him, and I also did some work on this shutter. So what I did was, as I show in this small video clip that I'm going to show you right now, I opened the shutter up and just simply greased, put a little bit of lubricant at some places and all of that kind of stuff to loosen up, to make it a little bit easier to move, to yeah, simply to get rid of some resistance in the shutter. So a little bit of a cleaning and lubrication job on the DB shutter itself, was the third part. The fourth, actually, is connected to the shutter release cable. It looks like crap, basically. It's just a lot of gaffer tape wrapped around it tightly, because I found one, or my feeling at least was, when I had this cable release in the shutter, and if I press it, it's sort of, I could feel that the cable release sort of stretched from the tension, sort of moved, and when the shutter was firing, this sort of tension that was stored in this cable release sort of unleashed, and it felt like it gave a shock to the camera. So what I wanted to achieve with putting this gaffer tape around the shutter cable is to stiffen it up, so the force does not build up as much inside of the cable release, but rather go straight into the shutter assembly. So that was my thought with this. Well, it's a little bit ugly, but you know, if it works, then it works. And I can remove it, of course, so that is not a problem. So that is the fourth thing. And we also got one last thing that I did, and that was that I noticed a problem, and that was that I even, you know, and that is connected to this sort of tripod head. It is connected by one screw. If I loosen this one up, it's quite tight in here, I can take off the camera and have this connecting piece right here lift off. And the problem was, put it back down here, the problem was that even if I would tighten this screw as much as I could, I noticed that I was able to shift the entire camera assembly on this plate. So there was quite some wiggle room in this sort of connection right here, which meant that it didn't matter how much I tightened the screw down, the camera had the possibility to move from side to side. So the entire construction right here, the entire top of the camera, the entire monorail basically with all on it, was able to move. So it was not super tightly connected to the tripod, at least not as much as I would love to have it connected. So these were my findings, and what I did to fix it was basically I put the Sinar to the side. So what I did to fix this is very simply I've taken a little bit of double-sided tape, quite strong double-sided tape, and I cut up an inner tube of a bicycle wheel, because that was the first thing that came to my mind, to have a very thin piece of rubber which is at the same time very grippy. So that was my first thought, to use the inner tube of a bicycle wheel, and I've cut it up, put some double-sided tape of course on the whole surface right here, and sticked the rubber right to it. And now if I put the Sinar on here and tighten the screw there, this sort of side-to-side play that I had before is now gone. It's not completely gone, but it is there's a lot of resistance from the grippiness of the rubber, which makes this sort of situation a lot better. And you know, I can really feel now that the whole top is really connected to the tripod itself, which should, in theory, make it a lot more stable and a lot more, basically it should be a lot more resistant, much more resistant to this sort of vibration problem that I had in the last video. So these are the 5 things that I did to my Sinar. Really tight this one down, and it's super solid, nice. So these were the 5 things that I did, and now I'm really looking forward in trying out this camera once more with using this DB shutter. And I think that if I remember the one thing as well, so if I'm using this cable release, to first half press and then fully press, to first stop down the aperture to the setting that I've chose here on the side. So for example, like this, it's on f22. So if I half press the cable release, the aperture closes down to f22, and if I fully press, then the shutter will be released. And by doing this 2-step process, the shake that is introduced into the camera is even less. So I'm going to try out this camera with the modifications that I did, this, slight modifications that I did, and I am hoping to see beautiful pictures that have no or close to no motion blur to it. I'm hoping. Let's see. Yeah. So thank you for joining this sort of second little photo journey that I'm going to take together with my Sinar. So everyone, see you tomorrow, for me tomorrow, when I'm going to start taking this little photo walk. Actually, I'm going to shoot the videos that I'm going to record on my phone tomorrow, because I don't want to bring my Lumix, just because it's a lot simpler. So, cheers everyone. Alright, so I want to take the first shot, and actually it is an interesting one right here underneath the trees. I will try to show it to you. So what I want to shoot is basically looking up this tree and right into this sort of space right here, and it follows this tree down like this, so it should go up and show this one in the center of the frame. So that is what I want to shoot, and that is why I want to set up my camera right here. So let's see what we're going to get, huh? So I want to shoot with the 118mm first, because I could use the 150 as well, and I think it would be better actually for this shot, because I need a slight wide angle for this view, I think. So the 150 would be better, but the 75 Super Anglogon that I have, maybe I will try to use it actually right here. I'm not sure. I never used it before, so maybe let's see. Put the lens on and see how it looks. But I want to test the stop down, aperture stop down thingy with the DB shutter. And the shoot today is more to test the camera in this current state, and less about the pictures that I'm going to produce, to be honest. Actually, it's about learning with the camera, but also testing it. So let's put the 180 on and let's see what we've got. Too much, to be honest, right? Like it is right now. Definitely. Balloons. We'll use some fall and try to shift it like that, down like this. Let's see. That's better. Like that. Alright, now I'm going to use some shift. I think. No, shift this like that. So tilt. Back first. Change perspective right there. Oh. Like this. Frame. Shift shortness. Actually, not right there. Just keep it straight. That. That's good. Down. All right. So, my first finding is that the new Fresnel lens that I put into the camera, there was one in there before as well, but the one that was in there before sort of felt a little bit strange to me, so I changed it out for another one that I had, just a very, very cheap, yeah, I don't know the English, leaf loop. In German it's Blattlupe, so leaf loop. So it's basically this very thin piece of plastic Fresnel lens that you can enlarge in, I don't know, a smartphone screen or a book to read or whatever, newspaper. So I cut one of these up and put it into the camera. But apparently, I think the one that was in there before is of better quality, because I can't see the ground glass as well and as bright as before. Of course, right here is not a bright scene underneath the trees, but it's harder for me to compose the frame than before. So I need to change this back to the old one. So focus is set. That is everything working fine. I'm going to shoot at f32 to get as much depth of field as possible. And now I would say let's get out a film holder and let's get the light meter to measure out the scene. The very beautiful shutter release, of course. Everything is really tightened down. Shit. This one here. This one. This as well. This is tight. This is tight, right? Super nice. So let's measure for the shadows in the trees, so that this gives me a 6, 5, 2 points in the darkest parts. So we know that, and the middle point is right there maybe. That is a 7, 8, and the highlights, I don't care about the highlights. So let's put the 5 2 points in zone 3, which gives me in the middle gray around 8, 7 2 points, which is exactly the middle exposure basically. So I'm going to shoot for that, and f32 gives me 4 seconds. So, and I'm shooting with a 180mm, so I give it 1 stop more light. It's rated at ISO 80, by the way. So I'm going to shoot actually, yeah, I'm going to give it 6 seconds at f32. Done, yes. This one correctly seated. Yeah, seems like it. So now, half press and then fully press. Like that. That's the first shot taken. Oh man, it looks beautiful actually. Love it. I love these trees, man. They're so beautiful. So this is the second location. I want to shoot that tree right here. Oh, the exposure is difficult. I want to shoot that tree, and want to have this look right here underneath, and this sort of feeling of open space and air and breathe right here. So I actually am trying to use the wide angle for the first time. So here we are again. I'm back from the little photo walk and the morning walk with my dog, basically, including the Sinar. And I found out some stuff already. The for the first time I used the original base rail. I think this is 30 millimeters. Yeah, probably. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 28 or something like that. But actually, this base rail works for all my lenses that I own, which is quite nice. So I used this for the first time. I've taken 4 black and white shots. One with the 75 millimeter wide angle for the first time. I hope I didn't screw up. The second, or not the second, but one with the 150, one with the 180, and one with the 240 millimeter. And the two, especially the last, that was the last shot. The shot with the 240, that was basically just simply to test, really to test. I stopped down to f32 and had a shutter speed of 8 seconds, full 8 seconds. So that was quite long, and that was my thought that when I get 8 seconds of exposure with my 240 mm, if there is no motion blur in this exposure, then it should be quite good. The thing was that I didn't have any sort of strong wind or something like that, so that was quite nice. But what were my findings? The thing was that the matte screen that I put in here, let's get this a little bit more straight here. The not the matte screen, the Fresnel lens that I put in here. Let's get this one out of here. This. So this is obviously the matte screen right here, and I put a Fresnel lens on front. And originally, well, not originally, but when I got this camera, there actually was, this is the Fresnel lens that I cut the smaller one out of. It sort of has this sort of blue tint to it. And where is the one that was installed? Ah, right here. So, installed in the camera was a small Fresnel lens like this, and this is actually clear. And I thought, well, I have this one, maybe this will work better. It does not, definitely not. The image was much dimmer, and well, it didn't work out quite as I hoped, so I will swap these two again. Yeah, but apart from that, apart from the focusing problem with this Fresnel lens that I've put into the camera, it seemed like everything was working quite nicely, quite smoothly. So I would say let's develop the shots and see if there is any motion blur. So, the conclusion. Basically, success. So, apart from the first two pictures being very underexposed because I looked at the light in the frame way too much and did not meter for the shadows enough. And the last picture is a little bit overexposed because I overestimated the bellow extension factor with the 240mm. So the first two shots underexposed, the last shot overexposed. The third shot being kind of okayish. So what did we learn from that? Basically, the fixes worked. If we take a look at this picture right here and take a look at the zoomed in part, this is the last picture, and it is the picture taken with the 240mm at 8 seconds. And if we, of course, in the foliage, there's quite some movement. Obviously, there was wind present and we had an 8-second exposure. But the static subject in the frame, so these dead trees, are very, very, very sharp. It's nice. So we don't have any motion blur. With using the 240mm lens at f32, shooting at 8 seconds. So that is definitely a hard test. Quite close to the hardest test that I could do. The only difference being to shoot in stronger wind. But if that works, I think I can now, after the adjustments, I can definitely work with this combination. But I also have the feeling that this, well, I think I sort of have Peter's voice in the back of my head, which also leads me to believe, and my experience right now. Well, of course. So the very first shootout that I did with this camera obviously produced blurry images, but you know, the camera was not ready to shoot, and the setup was not really that refined, so the images had some blur in them. And now, after this little this sort of modifications that I've got images with no motion blur in them, or close to no motion blur in them. I would say there's no motion blur, so that is nice. But my feeling is that using a carbon fiber tripod like this, in combination with this DB shutter, regardless of this beefiness and sturdiness, that using a DB shutter style shutter system on a carbon fiber tripod is maybe just simply not the best combination, because we have parts in here that are introducing some vibration into the system, and I don't think that that is very ideal, to be honest, in this situation. So because the carbon fiber, I think, transmits, sort of vibrates more. It's not as good as other possibilities to absorb this sort of vibration. And the answer for that is either to get a beefy and very heavy studio tripod. That is not a suitable option for me. The other option would be to get a tripod that is especially good in this field. So in a situation where we have some little micro shakes from movements or from the whatever camera system, and to have a tripod that is extremely good in absorbing this sort of vibrations. And the answer for that is to get a wooden tripod. And I was looking at wooden, especially at Berlebach tripods. It's a German manufacturer, makes quite beautiful pieces of art, tripod art. They from all that I've seen and I've handled, also handled the Berlebach ones, so they feel quite nice. well constructed and not super duper overly priced. They are not like into the 1,000 euro. Of course, if you want to get a very high end, very big, beefed up setup with all the things you can get, it will get above 1,000 euros and even above that. But you can get absolutely beautiful tripods in a good price range. New, but you can get them as a steal, used, and that is my plan. So maybe I will get a wooden Berlebach tripod used for this system, because I think that you can get to unleash the maximum capability of this camera is together with a tripod that is actually, if I'm using the DB shutter, have that in mind. The situation would be different. I would not even think about getting a wooden tripod if I would have more lenses that have a built-in shutter. Definitely. Even after my modifications, the stuff works right now. I get some results that you can work with, definitely. But I think with a wooden one, it will be better. So my advice to all the maybe 1 or 2 persons that are watching this, which are using a DB shutter, actually I would love to hear from any person that are using, other persons that are using this DB shutter system, and what kind of tripods they are using. I think I could get even better results with a wooden one. So maybe I will look into getting a used Berlebach. The downside to this will be that the Berlebach will be a bit, definitely noticeably heavier, and definitely also a little bit bigger when it's packed up. So these are the 2 things, but the weight is one of the things that I had in my conclusion list for maybe this is too light. So the only real downside to get when getting a Berlebach or any good wooden tripod is the size difference when it's packed up. Yeah, transportability basically. Yeah, so that is my thought. Let's see. I think in the end I just simply have to shoot more with this setup to make up my mind a little bit more. But I really think a wooden one would be good in this situation. And it looks so nice as well. Yeah, but let's not get into that discussion. So yeah, thank you for joining this little second video about this Sinar system. Yeah, if you have anything to in your mind, if you want to answer on my question, please do so. Write down a comment. I am very happy to read and answer them. Everyone, I hope you shoot a lot of film and cheers.